Welcome to Master the Game. I am Juice, and today I am talking to a very special guest that I have been a fan of for a very, very, very long time. I've been subscribed to his newsletter for about 8 years now. I think it was 2012, around that summer. And I've learned so much from this guy, so I know you guys will too if you go and follow his newsletter. He's got a wonderful blog and all that good stuff. But before we get into talking to him, I quickly wanted to say if you are not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. Would love to have you here. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday, as well as we have many games and other things, RPG tips, videos for various systems. And yeah, as well as if you are not on our Discord, go over. It's in the description below. Go over to our Discord, become a member. We have well over 100 members. We share our miniatures that we're painting. We do world building there. We talk about life, sports, RPGs, everything. And there's a very special channel where you can find people to play the game that you want to play. We have a Call of Cthulhu game coming up that's been organized through there, Pathfinder game, countless D&D games. So head on over there. Now with that, John, feel free to introduce yourself.
All right. Thanks for having me on. This is going to be fun. I published the roleplayingtips.com website. It's now in its 20th year. And it's hard to believe that I've been pounding away at the keyboard for that long, but there it is. And I like to write about game master advice. I like to help game masters have more fun at every game by just sharing some ideas I have, inspiration for your games, models that I've invented, methods that I've picked up on the internet, and anything that's going to help the GM run a better game.
Yeah, I have printed out so many of your articles over the years. I've got a binder it's my role playing tips binder. Most of the stuff is from your blog and your emails. In fact,
poor trees.
I know. I prefer physical products too. I can't use PDFs. I know if I don't print it out, I'll never see it again.
Yes.
It's one of those things.
Yes.
And it's something that one day I hope to be able to say, here, kids, now that you're into RPGs, just look through this for a couple days before we play.
See how the old people did
it. Right. Before we, could just, use our, whatever they are, all the fancy gadgets and touch screens and
the
I don't know.
Minority Report RPG.
Yeah, all that cool stuff. So anyways, so one of the things I remember, and I don't remember if I saw it on your blog first or what, but was the DM's binder, adventure creation binder, whatever people want to use it for, right? Or the gazetteer, I think you once referred to it as, like all sorts of different things. And that was especially back in about 2010, actually. So I may have found your stuff before I did my YouTube channel. I found it and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. And I could have seen another video. I don't know. But I did print out at one point all of your different options where you're like, figure out what you want to use it for. And it has become an invaluable tool for me over the years. I did get away from it. I'm glad I came back to it because that is what works for me. Do you still use that? Like, have you fine-tuned it since then? I mean, what can you say about that? What made you even do that? I know it's
so
very
the
like 10 questions.
I'm going back like 10 years in memory to recall the article, but when I started playing RPGs, which was back when Fred Flintstone was peddling this car, there were no computers. Like printer paper came out of these old printer spool things. You had to go to school and smuggle the printouts out, and dot matrix made it take a long time. Anyway, so paper was precious. So I was quite intentional about what I wanted to print, and but still a computer, Commodore 64 at the time, was still faster than writing things down. And so once I had printer paper, I needed a place to store all the loose papers. So that meant a hole punch and a binder. And then I just I did not invent this. There were GMs who ran. I probably read about it in Dungeon Magazine first in the reader mail column or something. But yeah, so then the binder just evolved to become this universal resource, and I've had many over the years. I've GM'd a few different systems, and I like to have references that are specific to the game system, almost like a GM screen and whatnot. So, and then I've always, for some reason, loved tables and lists and inspirational tools. So things like photocopying, you remember that word in from Dragon Magazine and other amateur publications and different sources. Anyway, and so the GM binder grew, and then I would hop on I discovered Usenet, and I started printing out tons of stuff off the Greyhawk list and other things, and then just went on from there. So recently, in the last decade, I have switched to electronic, and so I've tried like many electronic tools. In fact, I've lost considerable amounts of data because the programs that I used were just deprecated and no longer updated. I switched machines. I can't find the executable to reinstall it, and so anyways, so now I store data in my in an app that I produced called Campaign Logger. And however, I've also started slowly going back to paper storage. So I use Campaign Logger for very specific things. It's invaluable, but I also use Evernote and Scrivener and paper stuff. So like you, I find print material is just there. It's ready, accessible. It doesn't run out of batteries. It's on a bookshelf. And I've purchased gigabytes of electronic stuff. And I remember for some reason where a book is or where a piece of paper is in a binder. Oh, that's in the this third or whatever. And I just find paper easier to navigate. That's just my generation. But
I 100% agree, though. Like, I have the same problem. I've used OneNote. I've tried using digital, like Obsidian Portal. I've tried using World Anvil. Like, that stuff's great, but I cannot, like, it just doesn't connect with my brain.
Yeah, we're old school.
Right?
The thing, so the reason why I still war with this, why I just haven't settled on the perfect system, well, everybody changes. So as I change, my tastes change. And so I might go back to a technique or a tool or something, but I can't hit Command F or Control F. I can't search my binder by a keyword electronically, which is just, and if I'm writing notes in a notebook and I've filled up a notebook worth, then good luck finding something that happened 6 sessions ago. So I think right now I'm kind of converging on, okay, this is what I use paper for, and this is what I use digital for, to each its strengths, and I'm still evolving, always changing as a GM, I think.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, because now I run a weekly Wednesday night game, and I've found myself, because the players don't take good notes, so they'll be like, oh, what does this magic item do again? I'm like, are you serious? I told you that like 5 sessions ago, like over 2 months ago. Come on. So then I like try to find it in my notes. I'm like, I don't know. Chances are I made up some of the stuff about it. Now I got to go back and watch the session. Like, luckily it's recorded.
Yeah, I don't like those moments. I like being on the ball when I GM. It's I don't like flipping through things and and pausing the game and stalling any energy that I've tried hard to build with terrible jokes and dumb voices. So yeah, I like to keep things moving too.
So 20 years ago, that would have been basically almost not the birth of the internet, but the internet was not what it is today, right? Like, I had a computer with internet, I think in 98, and we were one of the first kids in the whole neighborhood, and it was great. But yeah, it was, I couldn't imagine back then thinking, oh, I'm going to start a blog and I'm going to write about DM tips, especially since I wasn't that big into RPGs at the time. So what was it that inspired you then to just do that?
Well, let's see. The short story long is, ironically, I didn't like English in school. I hated writing essays in school. So I never conceived of being an amateur writer or professional writer when I was in university and in high school and whatnot. So, but at the time in 1999, I wanted to connect with other game masters. Being a GM in general is kind of a lonely task, right? All the players on the other side of the screen get to be friends and kind of role play with each other and talk with each other, sort of at their level of the game, and then the game master with all of their secrets and all of their thoughts and whatnot. It's kind of a lonely thing. And then in 1999, it wasn't a desolate internet back then. It was pretty vibrant. I can't think of all the things other than like I had a massive stack of AOL CD-ROMs, as they marketed it that way, future coasters and weapons. But so I also wanted to experiment with the internet and try to connect with game masters. And then earlier in the year 1999, I connected with a couple of friends and said, hey, let's make a role-playing games company, because that was our passion. And can we make kind of a side gig out of it? And we started, and it kind of floundered, but that gave me the momentum to carry on. And so in November 1999, I was wondering, okay, well, what is it that I want to do? I wrote a couple of test articles as part of this 3-person group, this business endeavor, and I wanted to, and I enjoyed that experience. I was a terrible writer. Just look at our issue number 1 through 700,
Right.
and but I enjoyed the experience, despite what my English teacher told me in grade 12, and I just continued on. And then the idea I eventually settled on was, okay, well, I know a little bit about GMing, but I really want to be a better GM. And so I could use the internet to connect with other GMs, ask them, hey, what's your tip? And then they could send it to me, and then I could add it to my own tips, and then put it into an email out in a newsletter. And that's kind of how it was born. It was like a GM tip exchange, which it still is today in part. And yeah, it was fantastic. I've learned so much from the people online and offline that I've met through the newsletter and other avenues that just have really cool ideas and new takes on GMing and things. So yeah, that was my motivation. And I don't know if I'm a better GM, but boy, it's been fun. Yeah.
You've got to try a lot of different things, at least.
Yes.
So how many articles have you written to this point? Do you know offhand?
Oh man, I lost count after 5. So so I used to write something weekly, which was fantastic. So it became a habit, it became a commitment. And so I structured my life around, okay, I need to put together a newsletter in the mail, and mail it on every Wednesday or Friday or Monday. The day shifted over the years. And so I got up to number 725. And then I've been writing a weekly newsletter, twice a week newsletter, and sometimes 3 times a week newsletter for 3 years. And that's got another few hundred. And then there's another couple hundred so articles on the blog. So I don't know. That all adds up to, I think, 5 plus 1.
Right. Yeah, your blog, I was going to say too, for people out there, it doesn't look like there's any advertisements on it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I pulled all ads off in 2008.
Nice.
I didn't like what I was seeing so the advertising I did was through Google AdSense.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing, so I saw my site, and it doesn't matter if it's an ad or if it's something I've written or a tip somebody else has written, it is all representational of how I want game masters to enjoy the game. And so I saw ads that I just didn't agree with, and I thought were kind of dumb. And actually the MMOs at the time were getting pretty racy in their advertising and disrespectful in a few ways. And so I didn't want those ads, but I could block them in the AdSense kind of tool set.
Yeah.
But after a while, I just realized, well, it's making me money. Like, I don't know how much it was, a couple $100 or $400 a month or something.
Sure.
That's nice. That's good books, but I didn't feel it was a good fit for the site. And I really liked as soon as I got rid of them, like it was just clean white pages, clean backgrounds. And it was just, the text could pop that way. There wasn't all these, and they were motion graphics and video graphics, all kinds of just weird things they're experimenting with. So, so I decided to get rid of that. And then a little bit after, I removed advertising from the newsletter as well, for the same reason. People found value in the advertising, but the advertisers that were approaching me were gambling and just things that weren't related to really good role-playing experiences or helping GMs. So the I don't know, cut me off if I'm rambling, but the game master ecosystem last decade was nothing like it is today. There was no Etsy, and there were very few kind of do-it-yourself tools like 3D printers and laser printers that were cheap and whatnot, and color printers. So yeah, so it was just junk coming in for sometimes. Other times it was great. There was used book trade and buy and sell sites and different, a few things were kind of starting up in those days. But yeah,
Mhm.
the plethora of cool things, minis, and all the things that add-ons and cards you can buy today would be wonderful to advertise. But yeah, it
Right.
wasn't coming through.
I'm sure you get people that reach out now though about advertising those things, right?
Yeah,
Now, do
probably.
you do anything to promote those? Like if like a company came to you and said, "Hey, we have a new product," would you just throw that in your newsletter or blog post then?
Well, now, no. And so,
Okay.
uh, putting the two and two together, your earlier question, yeah. So I get emailed quite often, and most of the time it's for Kickstarters.
Sure.
And so I don't uh, I don't have a problem mentioning the Kickstarters in and other things that come across my desk, virtual desk on my social media channels.
Hmm.
Um, but I've come to see more of my newsletters more of an experience,
Sure.
and more of a, like, I'm hoping it's infotainment. It's a information about Game Master, but delivered in a not dry way that's a cure for insomnia. So when I throw advertising in and whatnot, I think that just changes the tone of it. Now,
It
as far
waters
as
it down a little.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Now, if there's something I believe in or something that I've tried and used, then I will support it, because then I can advocate it. It's like, okay, if
Yes.
I say this is good, or even just by mentioning it, I believe I'm giving off the impression that I am supporting it. I'm behind it. Um, then that's okay if I do support it. But if it's something like, say, a person I don't know and I don't know their products, if a Kickstarter that I don't know anything about what it will be, if it'll be on time, if it will actually deliver, and the quality and anything. So I kind of avoid that. And then I don't know how to deal with this problem, but if I do mention something, say for a friend or whatnot, then I get many other requests. Oh, hey, you mentioned these things, so can you mention mine too?
Hmm.
And I don't like saying no, because I do support the independent creator, and it's fantastic that they're going out there. So I will use other channels, but I generally leave that off my blog and off my site, and off the newsletter.
Right. Yeah. No, I completely understand that. I've been in that situation too, where back in 2015, I was getting more requests for like, "Hey, here's this Kickstarter, and we'll send you this PDF." And I think I said yes to one or two. I did one video on like these paper miniature, or they're like sticker miniatures, and then all of a sudden I get like, "Hey, I'll send you a free PDF." And like, I don't read PDFs, as you've already discovered. I don't like digital in the first place. I said, well, if you send me a physical one, I'll at least look at it. So I got all these requests, and then people are like, well, here, let me just send it to you anyway. And I'm like, so I have like these PDFs from back then that I've never even opened, that are still on my computer taking up data. And I'm similar, where I have a hard time telling people no. I will sometimes bite off more than I can chew with like running campaigns, and and I then get overwhelmed, and it ruins my enjoyment of everything when I do that. So I'm
Yeah.
still learning how to say no. So
Yeah, it would be great if there was some service that I could refer them to. Here's the Kickstarter RPG Kickstarter promotion thing, and then people who were interested in that could sign
yeah,
up, and that's a perfect marriage. So
yeah.
maybe
There
there's
is a
that out
community
there.
that talks about this stuff. It is a secret community on Facebook. It's only
Okay.
open to mostly creators. I would probably consider you a creator, though. You're a blogger. So I'll let you know off air, and I'll get you an invite. It's very exclusive. There's like less than 100 people in it, I think. Maybe a little more
Okay.
now. I don't know. But we share things like that, like, hey, this company reached out to me. It's not something that fits my brand. Is this something anybody else is interested in? So that's rare that that comes up, but every once in a while you see people sharing that. So I'll mention that for you.
Great.
Um, so what is the best, and maybe there's not a best, but what is the tip or advice that's been on your blog that you've gotten the most positive feedback on, that stands out?
Geez, well, I'm glad you didn't say best. I
There
can
is no
never.
best.
Well, I can never think of. I get spotlight frozen effect when I get. Oh wow, I have to rank these and prioritize, and then I overthink, and then my brain explodes. But good stuff. Okay, so 5 room dungeons.
Yes.
That's a natural one. That gets a lot of use, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Game masters find the kind of mythic story crunched down into 5 encounters for quick encounter or adventure creation useful. And let's see what else. Man, I just did a a quick inventory of this, and now my mind has blanked. So I'm going to stick with 5-room dungeons. If you want to cheat, you can go. People can go to roleplayingtips.com and see a few articles that I've put in the sidebar, and my web analytics says that those are the top referenced articles of late. So those could be a guidance of what's popular. They might not be the best, but it's what people seem to be attracted to, or maybe Google is pointing their way.
Gotcha. Okay, nice. Yeah, I've got that. I think you had one where people submitted their own 5-room dungeons too, and I think I printed that out, or like the 1332 roadside encounters, and I printed that out back in the day. And oh man, I don't know how many of those things I've used in a pinch when I've been like, I don't know what to do for tomorrow's game. Like, just go in there. I'm like, oh, perfect. Or NPCs. I think you had an NPC one that you did as well.
Yeah, that's just my favorite ones. 3-line NPCs.
Yes.
Just a quick hack to get something more than cardboard up on the table, but it's not a full-fledged NPC. You can do that between sessions, but yeah, it's just fantastic. I really like that. That's a popular one. So thanks for reminding me about that one.
Yeah, like no problem. Thank you for making it happen. But yeah, I love that stuff. Like I think one of the first places I heard of Sly Flourish and his Lazy Dungeon Master was also from you. And I was like, oh, I got to buy the book. And I went and bought it. And that was great, obviously.
Yes.
It's so in line with the type of stuff you promote, basically, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love his blog. If I run 3 D&D campaigns, and I play other games too, but he's like, if I go, he's my go-to source for D&D 5 advice and commentary on the modules and whatnot. Yeah. And then his Return to the Lazy Dungeon Master has some really good frameworks in there that I use to that I've adopted and morphed into how I prep for games and adventures as well. So yeah, I encourage people to go to Sly Flourish as well.
Yeah. Are you and Sly Flourish friends?
We know. I would say acquaintances.
Gotcha. I was gonna say, as much as you've talked about him over the years, I would be surprised if you don't know, have not interacted. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I tune into his game prep sessions on Sunday mornings, and we kind of, I make comments, and then he responds in the text chat, and he responds in the video.
Is that on Twitch?
What's that? On Twitch? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to check that out. I don't think I've watched it on Twitch. He used to do some YouTube stuff for a little bit.
Okay.
But gosh, that was a long time ago. Yeah, he used to talk about like his kit that he used to take to conventions or something. But yeah, I always like Sly Flourish. He's awesome.
Yes.
Are there any other go-to blogs for you other than Sly Flourish?
I read Dungeon Solvers, another 5e1. That's good. I go to a bunch of subreddits: DM Academy, D&D Next, Behind the Screen, and Campaign Mastery, run by Mike Bork. He produces some really good stuff. I love the what is it called now? Alexis Smolensk. It's the Tau. It's not the Tau of D&D, is it? Is it the Tau of D&D?
I don't know. I've heard the name of the person you just said.
Yeah.
Alexis.
Let me see if I can grab his book quick.
Yeah, maybe that's where I've heard of him. Maybe it's been his book. Yeah. I've definitely heard of it because obviously, I've gone through so many blogs. Like the monsters know what they're doing, and like there's just so many good ones out there. So many good ones.
Yeah, Keek's blog is excellent. I read that too. Yeah. This is oh man, I've got my green screen on. Damn it!
It's much.
Called How to Run. How to Run by Alexis D. Smolensk, and I'm pretty sure it's the Tau of D&D is his blog, and he's not for everyone. People either really like him or they really dislike his opinion on gaming. He has very strong opinions. He's like anti-Dungeons and Dragons, like anti-WotC, or yeah. He's not against the company. He just has I won't speak for him. Bring him on as a guest. I would love to be on with him, and we'll pick his brain. But he has a point of view. But I really like his point of view because it is about verisimilitude and about bringing the best possible game experience in terms of like bringing your best self to the table and then bringing kind of the best game to the table. And anyways, how he writes and what he writes about resonates with me. Yeah, and
It's
then Monster
probably very immersive style, I'm assuming. Is that?
Yeah, so he one of his things is to just understand our reality, so then you can make really good decisions and describe details and understand things. So even though your fantasy world might be different, it's probably 95% still based on our assumptions of how our reality works. And so if you understand things like psychology, then you can understand how an NPC would truly react in a frightening situation. If you understand mechanics, you would have a better understanding of how traps actually work. And he would object. Well, again, I'm speaking for him, but in my opinion, my interpretation is that he would not like someone to just roll and bypass a trap. He would like to game out the trap with understanding of how mechanics and engineering works to a limited degree. You don't have to actually have a degree, but
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
that makes sense.
I don't think I've explained him well. Bring him on. Let's talk with him sometime.
All right, I will have to reach out. That sounds like it would be interesting. I don't know if I would agree,
yes,
but that might make it more interesting. I'm a little more casual, I think, in my gaming personally. I had a good conversation today with an old friend who used to do a lot of YouTube videos, and we were talking about Pathfinder 2nd Edition because I'm just learning the system. I just got it as a Father's Day gift like a week ago, as an early Father's Day gift, and I did like a character creation video this last weekend, and I had another friend on to talk about it before I got it because I've been interested. And this guy also is being asked to run it, and so he asked me my opinion. And so we talked for like 2 hours maybe. And he's also like that, where he's very more like he's into very immersive, a little bit simulationist stuff. He can disregard simulationist, but you can tell there's a little bit of it in there. Like we were talking about dungeon design, and he's like, you want the secret doors to make complete sense, because if they don't, it ruins the immersiveness for you. And I'm like, yeah, not me. I don't even know where it would make sense. Like I just put them places in my games. So, but for me, it's an escape. I don't do a lot of homework with my games.
Yeah, that's whatever way you have fun is fine, as long as everybody is having fun and no one's getting hurt and there's respect. But I find that simulationism is a spiral, and it's not up or down. It's just because the more that you let's say I were to tell you not to that I bought a new car and the car was yellow. And then you start noticing all the yellow cars on the road for the next week. Wow, there's a lot of yellow cars. I never suspected yellow was such a popular color. Right. Just because it's in your awareness, and so therefore your brain is going to just pick that out. The simulationist or anybody who studied any particular topic, they're going to have that effect that they're going to bring into the game. So if they understand that 90-degree corners in dugout dungeons is a no-no, then anytime they come across that, it's just going to be a glaring thing, even if it's fine in a game context. I think that's the effect. But
yeah, I have a player who's a trained Brazilian jiu-jitsuist, and he's very into like armed weapon history and like just combat fighting. And so we play 5e, and for him, he likes 5e. It's fun. He likes how simple it is. However, when it comes to tactics, it leaves a lot to be desired for him. So we've had these talks. He likes the idea of like playing Warhammer just because like he likes how the wound system is. He likes a little bit more of that. Yeah. Zweihander, he ran for us like a couple months ago on my channel. He's really into that, and he wants. It's funny, we've been talking, and it sounds like he wants a crunchier system that can simulate all the stuff, and he wants to house rule a lot of 5e. He wants to keep it the way it is, but then house rule armed combat. And he's got some really cool ideas that I think most 5e fans will hate, but there are people who are into that genre that he's into that I think will really enjoy it. So I told him, I'm like, you should just do it, man. Just put it out there.
Put out a mod. Again, the people who don't like it will not play it, and the people who will like it will really appreciate his time. So does he win all the arguments at the table then?
We don't argue. So he's in my
Fair
Wednesday
enough.
weekly game.
I would not argue either.
Yeah, I know he's great. He's I love playing with him actually. His wife plays too with us. He's so he was a fencer in college. He had a scholarship for fencing and
wooden or plastic fences.
What's that? Wooden or plastic?
Terrible.
But no, it was funny because we've not had any debates in combat. However, afterwards he'll tell me like if something's cool or if something else could have been better or whatever. I get good feedback from him, but he never argues with me on air. So yeah, he's a perfect player, and he's very into the role play, and yeah, I love it. Which every Wednesday, if you guys want to watch Forgotten Throne campaign, he's playing a half orc fighter cleric. So very honorable fighter.
Maybe we'll win the plot twist where the jiu-jitsu master puts the GM in a headlock and twists. That's not going to happen, is it?
No, I used to be a bouncer. You know what? I don't know if he could take me or not. He might be able to. I'm out of shape now. Actually, let's be honest. He's trained in jiu-jitsu. He could take me.
Yeah, the only bouncing I do is downstairs. There's this low ceiling, and then we call it the Hobbit room. It's just small, and man, I miss it. Or I hit it with my head. I miss noticing it every time, and it bang. That's terrible.
Nice. So you are known to release your own products. Some of the stuff I've liked, you released. I believe at one time you released a how to like create your own industry product PDF, and there was some good stuff in there about just I can't remember exactly, but it was like about the 3,000 fans and things like that, and just write. I think it was about just forcing yourself to write. Maybe I'm getting multiple products mixed up, but just good. I always felt like you've had very practical advice for people. Is this just something that strikes you one day and you're like, I'm just going to do this thing, and you start working on it? How do these inspirations come to you to release these products?
Well, okay, so there's two kinds of products there. There's business to consumer and there's business to business. And so my background is marketing and business.
Okay.
I started life out working in a bank. I did that for about a decade, and then I taught myself how to code, and I became a coder for a while. And then I got into project management, and then into management, and then I switched careers and got into analytics.
Yeah.
And then taught myself marketing and digital advertising and stuff. So anyways, and I guess I've always had a philosophical mind. I think philosophical people always tend to think things through, not necessarily well, but they at least think things through and come up with models and approaches and kind of look at things objectively. So anyways, the business to business stuff was called Gamer Lifestyle.
That's what it
was. And 2008-ish, I took all the ads off my site, and in 2011, I decided, okay, this is going to become an official side business. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to treat roleplayingtips.com as a serious kind of a business entity, and to see what would happen, where I could take it, where it would go. And then in about 2015, I started Gamer Lifestyle with Yax, who was running Dungeon Mastering at the time. He has since sold the site, and he's not part of that site anymore. But so he and I created this program for anybody else who wanted to earn a side income from their role-playing hobby. And so that was a lot of fun. And then I put that on pause. So that's been on hiatus for a few years now. And then the B2C stuff. So how I get ideas for business products is basically, what problems do I face as a business owner trying to make role-playing tips a successful endeavor? And then the business to consumer stuff, or the GM products, are the same kind of thought process. Like, where do I have friction points in my games? Where do I stumble? What things do I wish I had? What solutions do I create for myself that I think others would like? I'm supposed to do a whole bunch of product research and kind of be really scientific about it and whatnot. And I am leaning towards doing that more lately, because I'm still trying to figure things out and wanting to make products that are successful in the marketplace, just to give me more options, hire more people and whatnot. But otherwise, yeah, in the past, I've kind of chased, oh, well, this is really interesting. It's a problem that I've solved for myself. Others might find it useful. And so I've created these products that I really like and I'm proud of. They have not been commercially successful, though. Way too niche. They're a niche within a niche through the Inception movie times 50.
Right.
So, and and then something else is I do read a lot online, and I tend to gravitate towards GMing stuff, and how to think stuff, and so those always give me ideas, and then I kind of morph them into how would I do it for my own stuff, or how can I apply it for my games, or and then of course the newsletter then provides a venue for sounding board, but also all the awesome emails and feedback I get from people as I send it out, and they tell me, oh, this would be a good product sometimes, or they would say, yeah, this resonated with me, and then I know that might be an idea to throw as a chapter into something, or as a standalone product, or some kind of freebie. So that's my approach. Now, you're also, do you advertise on your channel? Are you trying to earn a bit of a side income on your channel?
My goal is to turn this into something one day, actually.
Great.
So when I started this in 2012, it was more to be part of the community, similar to like how you were saying when you started, you wanted to like talk to other people that were into RPGs. So I got into RPGs. I feel like I talk about this every other time, how I got into RPGs, but in 97, I was about 12 years old, and I started getting into RPGs because of a guy in the neighborhood who was 26. He got me into Palladium books, Heroes Unlimited, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Palladium, nice.
Yeah. And so I played that with him and one other neighborhood kid. However, at the end of the summer, we moved. I moved, and then the other neighborhood kid moved. And then like a year later, that adult moved. So we could never get it back together. I tried to stay in contact with them. We never got that group back together. And going into high school, I could not find a group to play Palladium books. I knew of a group that played D&D. It was always too full. It was kids in a different neighborhood, so I would have had to have my mom drive me over there. And they already had 8 people, plus half of those kids' boyfriends and girlfriends also played. So it was a huge group. And so I never got into that. So exclusively from 97 till 2010, I would occasionally play in like a chat room game online, maybe a Yahoo Voice or Palladium Books text chat room, play by email, whatever I could find, forums. And it was never really that satisfying, to be honest. So it was always just this thing where I had a couple of the books, some dice, whatever. But 2010, I met my wife, and I didn't know she was into RPGs, and she didn't know I was until we moved in together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was unpacking my books that I didn't have that many of, and I said, hey, is there somewhere I can put my books? And she's like, oh, yeah, on the bookshelf. And she pointed, and I was like, all right, cool. Because I wanted to make sure before I put them on there, it was okay. And she had her advanced D&D books there. And I was like, what? And so then I held my book up, and she's like, what the hell's that? And I was like, oh, well, this is like D&D, but this is superheroes. So then...
Happy day.
You know. What's that?
Happy day. Wow, that was fantastic.
Right? Yeah, so she ran 2nd edition D&D for me. That was the very first time I had ever played D&D. And then I ran some Heroes Unlimited for her. She realized it wasn't her thing. And we played with my sister and her husband. We ended up playing a 2nd edition D&D campaign until my sister and my wife both got pregnant, and that ended that. And then I've been hooked since. So in 2012, I had gallbladder surgery, was at home and was watching a bunch of YouTube videos, and I stumbled across RPG videos. I hadn't played in a year, and came across like Samwise 7 RPG, who I think is the one who recommended your role-playing tips to me. Like I had seen stuff of yours before, but I think that's when I signed up for the newsletter. And then I was watching like Wood, WWAD, and a couple other people in the community. And so I was like, you know what? YouTube at the time, you had video responses and stuff. So it was more about community than it was about going viral or whatever. And so we would do videos on each other's topics and talk to each other with video responses. And so that's why I started. In 2014, I started a group called the Tabletop RPG One-Shot Group. And we grew...
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, we started that. It was Gen Con that year. I couldn't make it. So I had a chat room with some friends. And I was complaining that I couldn't find anyone to play Palladium books at the time. I was like, I really want to play Palladium books. I'll play other people's systems if they'll play mine. I was like, there's a bunch of us that want to play a bunch of different games other than D&D or other than Pathfinder at the time. And so everyone was like, yeah, that'd be a great idea. Someone should do that. And so we talked about this for an hour, 2 hours, and nobody did anything with it for like a day or two. I'm like, guys, somebody do something. And nobody did. So then finally I was like, all right. So I took an existing group I had that was supposed to be for bloggers, YouTubers, anyone who was trying to create content for RPGs. It was called All Genre Entertainment was my idea. Age, which I didn't know there was an Age RPG system at the time. And so I changed that into the Tabletop RPG one-shot group. And it had some hiccups early on, and it grew from September to December. I want to say it had like well over 3,000 members, which at the time seemed huge.
It was awesome.
Yeah, we were playing like games every day. There was a DM, Lloyd Collins, who just released like a year or two ago, Iskloft, which is like a Viking campaign for 5e. He did a Kickstarter on it. It was I don't have it, but I've heard it's excellent. But he was running games every single night, and like he was homebrewing like Viking stuff into it, and like all sorts of cool stuff. And yeah, he ran a game I think every night for over 30 days.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. But like we had a lot of cool stuff that came from it. And at that time, that was when I realized to me, I was like, I could do something, because I was also growing. My channel went from 300 subscribers to 1,500 in the course of like 2 months. I was like, oh man. And I had seen at the time one or two other RPGers at about 3,000 subscribers, which at the time was the big guys. And they were making money from Patreon that was brand new at that time. And enough that for me would have been a full-time living. I don't have to make a ton of money, because luckily my mom does really well, or my wife does really well. And we're very strict with our budget. So I was like, oh, I could turn this into something. However, the more the one-shot group grew, the more time I put into that rather than my own YouTube channel. And it became too much until one point I just gave it up and wasn't a part of it anymore. So I've thought about turning it into a business. I know that was a really long-winded explanation. Started a blog, did some things. I've done some sponsored videos before. I've done some affiliate sales through like Amazon, Drive Through RPG. I'm an affiliate. And I also like recently I've just been like, you know what? I want to do more writing, and I'm not a good writer. And I think one time you and I were talking about a writing possibility back in the day. Which I'm glad that didn't happen, because I'm not a good writer. And looking back at it, I probably would have been really poor, but really poor at it. But yeah, it's just one of those things that my dream is to do something with RPGs, and luckily I have, again, a low number that I have to hit to do it full time. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So the gamer lifestyle thing did stand out to me for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just the business world has always fascinated me.
Yes.
From numerous angles, numerous parts of it, from organization to leadership to content and revenue and business models, and I don't know, it's just all fascinating.
I'm a business major, so I completely get it. And I say major because I didn't graduate, but I've taken so many business classes, business law, all that stuff. I've read so many books about entrepreneurship, and like I'm a big Gary Vaynerchuk fan. Love Gary Vaynerchuk, even though he's very repetitive. But
and loud.
Yeah. So my father used to own a pizza store when I was growing up. The idea of owning something my own has always been interesting to me.
Yes. Yeah. I feel the same way. That's true. That sense of ownership is the same as designing your own adventures versus running a published one. There's that, that feeling of creating something is yours, and that tightrope walk. If you've fail, fall, or whatever, that's all part of the experience. Yeah, it's amazing.
I don't mind it though. Like the idea of failure doesn't scare me. I did real estate. I've been a car salesman. Like the idea of a bad month doesn't bother me. My wife, that bothers her, but like I remember if we had like a bad month, because so when I started real estate, I did really well my first year. And then we had our second child. And when we had our second child, I took a week off. I told all my clients I was taking a week off. 2 of my most expensive clients went that week and dropped me And I couldn't get a hold of them, nothing. And I mean, we're talking about almost $1 million in houses, which over here is a big deal. Because that would have been like $30,000 to $40,000 that I would have made over the course of 3 months. You know what I mean? Like that'd have been a huge amount. And I remember I felt more slighted. I didn't care about the money as much, but my wife was like,
Where's
"What are
the
we gonna
loyalty?
do? We just had a baby," like And I'm just like, they personally slighted me. I've been working with both of them for so long. So
Yeah, 1 week. Wow, that was a fine hair trigger. Hey?
yeah, well, they both knew I was having a child. One of them, I actually, the one we had closed on them buying a $400,000 condo, and they had said they wanted to wait till June to even start looking at selling their house. And I said, okay. I had met with them. I told them what we would list it at. We had a whole marketing plan and everything. And I had recently sold another property in their same area. And so, we had an agreement that as soon as my child was born that week, I would get with them afterwards. They had already listed and sold their house in that week with somebody else for the same price I told them to. And it sold for that exact price. And I was like, are you kidding me? So yeah, I was really upset about that, especially since a week before that, they're like, yeah, once your wife has her baby, we'll have you guys over for dinner. And like, I was like, yeah, we're building a personal relationship here. Like I said, I'd worked with them for a year. I had shown them houses within a 45-minute drive radius because they kept changing their mind about what they wanted. First they wanted something that they could gut that was on a golf course. And then they changed their mind and they wanted something really expensive that was completely finished. So we bought something really expensive and they gutted it anyway.
Wow.
It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Quite an experience. But like I said, for me, it was not about the money. What was that?
Yeah. Well, now you're following your passion. So
I am. You're
having a life well lived.
So it was funny because I was doing car sales when COVID hit. I had just gotten the job back in February. I started in March, and here in Michigan, we had the shutdown 2 weeks, like the end of March. And when the shutdown hit, I was like, well, okay. So I collected unemployment for a month, and then I didn't realize they wanted us to return to work. So one of our business guy messaged me. Is it working now? Yeah, it's working. Okay. So I was like, I didn't know I was supposed to return to work. And they said that, well, we need to know now. I was like, I need 1 day. Give me a day. And I talked to my wife and she's like, don't worry about it. I said, okay. So I did not return to work. And yeah. So now I started doing the interviews and stuff with COVID, and I'm having more fun than I was before. I'm not making any money, but I'm having fun.
Yeah, you're learning stuff and you're kind of figuring out what things are. You said you're thinking about writing or your products a few minutes ago. So you're entertaining ideas. So it's all part of a process.
Yes. Yeah. My one of my bucket list items is to create my own setting. I mean, I have my own setting, but is to one day publish it. And again, I'm not driven so much by money. Like for me, I just want to have something that I can physically hand to my players and say, here, this is our world that we're playing in. Like, that sounds cool to me.
There will be a test next week.
Right. I know people wouldn't read it. They'd be like, oh, cool, thanks. And they put it on their bookshelf and that would be that. But for me, it would be cool.
It needs to rise by an inch. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like a big bucket list item for me. I've always wanted to do that. And I want to create my own system one day. So again, that's one of my things that I'm dabbling in.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I don't know. I've got a lot of ideas. I've always been a good idea person when it comes to things that could be a business. I do sometimes, and my friend Dave from Nerdarchy tells me I need to find my focus and just hone in on it, but I'm not that kind of person. Like if I start doing that, a month or two later, I want to dabble in this other thing. Like I start playing an RPG system, then I see a new shiny one, and I want to try that.
Yes.
It's just how I am, and knowing that, I think, and accepting that fact this year has helped me a lot.
For sure.
Because before now, I always still tried to listen to other people and do that, and this is the first year I've ever just done what I want to do, and it's far more rewarding.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, good for you. That's excellent.
And I know my limitations because of it. I know if someone wants to start a project with me, I need accountability. Like straight up, like, if you want me to work on something, I need you to hold me to standards, deadlines, and things like that. Because if I don't have those, I'm going to start working on it and be gung ho at first, but then I'm going to start doing this over here. And I need, if I have a partner on something, they need to be the one that's organized. And it's not that I'm not organized, but they need to be that accountability partner.
Yeah, that makes sense. Everybody always operates in a structure. If it's not one they create, then they're just going to be the victim of the structure that they've just kind of fallen into. So I hear that. Yeah.
Yep. That's why, like, the other day I was talking online. I said, hey, writers, how many words a day do you write? Because if I also tell myself, no matter what, like, so before I met my wife, I used to go to the gym 7 days a week. I couldn't go 5 days a week. I couldn't go 3 days a week. I have to do it as like a ritual every day to keep it up. And so I think that's why I've been doing really well with doing streams and everything, because I have something going on almost every day and I'm forcing myself to do it. Like, I don't say, oh, I want to do this thing tonight. I just do it. I just tell my wife, I've got a stream, I'm going to do it. I've got this, I'm going to do it. Because that's how I have to operate. I have to order myself to do it, because there will be days where I'm tired and I have a 1 o'clock thing and I've been up since 4 a.m. with the kids. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to interview this person at 1. I love the idea of talking to them, but I'm so tired. I just want to sleep today. Like, if I didn't force myself to do it, I would totally just sleep and take a nap. So even with DMing, it's hard, because I do the same thing with sometimes where I'm like, okay, I've done my prep for tomorrow's session. I don't need to do any more prep today. But if I force myself to do my prep like I always do the day before prep, 1, I'll be familiar with my notes again, and I can get ahead, which always helps that session be better, because now I can also plant hooks and seeds and stuff like that to steer them later on without them even realizing it. So again, it's just forcing myself to do it. And that's all new to me too. Like, that's not something I could do 5 years ago that I'm getting better
at. Good. You've mastered save versus nap.
Right. So it's still a process. I'm working on it. It's funny. So the thing that held me accountable to starting to work on my own RPG system is I have a friend who's working on his own that inspired me to actually put pen to paper. And so I started editing his stuff, which I'm 2 weeks behind on getting on him about that. But he wanted me to be his accountability partner. Like,
yeah, great. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so I would reach out to him every Monday. Hey, what are you working on tonight and tomorrow? Because I asked him, what days do you think you're going to work on it? And he'd tell me. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to follow up with you every Monday and ask you what you're planning on working on. And then every Tuesday night, when you supposedly have written it Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to ask you what you got done. That's it. It was real simple. Whatever he does is up to him. But it's that little thing, and then he can bounce ideas and share it with me, let me read it. But I got about 60 pages done on my own thing that I was just real proud of. Like, every time I got a little bit done. Now it's a mess. It's not balanced. None of the stuff matches. Like, it's like 5 ideas of systems in one.
Yeah.
But it's fun. And I feel like I'm accomplishing something. So
good. Well, 1,000 steps, or 1,000 miles is 1 step at a time.
Yes.
A giant elephant. I don't know. Throw your metaphors together, but you have to do a little bit on a consistent basis, and that'll get you big results over time. So,
yeah, my friend Tim from Tabletop Terrors and Absolute Tabletop, he always says progress over perfection, and I've stole that from him. I say that all the time now. And
Smart guy.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I've seen other people say that too. It's about taking that first step. It's not about the sprint or anything like that. It's just taking a step every day, And so that's what I'm trying to work on myself, to get some little side projects going that I've wanted to do for 5-6 years. And I think that's important. And I think you can do that with DMing too. It's what I tell brand new DMs, like when they're like, oh, how do I run a game? You just start. Like, do your best and learn from your mistakes and move on. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be Matthew Mercer or Chris Perkins.
No. I think it's harder to be a new GM these days than it was when we were learning. There's too many. And the examples are daunting. And so even in people using something like GM Binder to create these professional looking PDFs of their game preparation, will make a new GM feel they need to do all these things that they don't. And in our day, I guess maybe peer pressure, like, be better than the next guy, or I don't know, have a running group. I don't know what our milestones were, benchmarks back then were, but yeah, there's just so much of that. That's, I guess, part of the problem with open communication and
Yeah.
the opportunity. You can learn from people, but then you also might set false expectations for yourself. So
That is probably my biggest gripe about social media in general. You only see, well, for the most part, you see everyone's best side.
yeah,
People aren't sharing, some do, but most don't share their low points. They don't share, all the, terrible stuff that comes along with it. Like, oh, he may have ran a great D&D session today, but what was he doing 10 years ago or 20 years ago when he first started?
or
Like,
yesterday in my
yeah, or
case.
yesterday. How was his off air game with his players that he was arguing with rules about? Like, you don't know. Yeah, it's funny. I'm jealous of a lot of the people I talked to who said, "Yeah, we just kind of started in our bedroom, no idea how to play D&D, and we just made characters and rolled dice and didn't role play anything." Like,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
like that kind of would have been fun.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. No
different.
constraints. That's just imagination. That's
Right.
the beauty, the core spirit of the game for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole idea of it. Like I've talked to so many people who, yeah, I had the monster manual. I didn't know anything else, but I had a monster manual, and I was trying to figure out this game based on a monster manual. Like, I don't know how you would start. Like, I can't wrap my head around like having a monster manual and trying to figure out how to play a game. You know,
Yeah.
but
That's
there's a
similar to
lot
the
of
way
people.
I ran, actually, ironically, because now I had basic D&D. So I owned
Okay.
the red book.
Yep.
So I knew how to play D&D. But then AD&D came out. And so I saw the three books. I saw the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Monster Manual.
Yep.
And I figured, oh, okay, well, I've already got my friends kind of running, so I need more monsters. So I started reading the Monster Manual. And
Yeah.
so I got into AD&D with the Monster Manual first. And then once, like, I didn't know what things were. So I realized, oh, okay, well, then I should get the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, the Player's Handbook was really the best instruction for playing the game. It had all the weapons and the spells and whatnot. So yeah, I know that kind of ass backwards approach. Yeah, we did terrible things poorly, very poorly, made big mistakes, and had so much fun doing it. Yeah,
Right. It's so funny how things have changed because now when you talk to people, they think, no, you got to be really immersed. Like, so one of the things that put me off on the RPG community back in the day that doesn't anymore, I now just understand it's a different perspective. But I had people when I was, because I don't think I'm a good DM. I think I need a lot of work always. I'm always trying to fine tune it and get better. But I remember when I was trying to learn how to DM and I had a YouTube channel and I was in the community, people would talk about the immersive style. And if you had people that were like power gamers or whatever, then you should just kick them out of your group and never play with them and tell them it's wrong and all this stuff. And I was like, no, like, I don't think you should do that, first of all, because they're going to learn. Like, my style's adapted over time. And I
yeah,
always felt like there was this elitist, thing to it. And I felt like social media, like streaming games and stuff, actually made it worse for a while.
yeah.
And
You
I
become tribal. Yeah.
yeah, like I don't think there's a wrong way to play the game. I think there's just a right group for you to play the game, because
Nice. Yeah.
there are people that like just the tactics and don't worry about the role play. And I play with some people like that. And I've played with people that are very immersive and into role play. I prefer that. I prefer a nice mix, to be honest. But I prefer the role play probably more so than the min max power gamey type of stuff. But I can have fun with both. And by trying to gatekeep and keep these people out of the hobby, you're just hurting the hobby as a whole in general.
Yeah.
Because I would say like 8 years ago, I felt like I was just a power gamer. I like to min max. I like to make strong characters that fit whatever my theme was, and I felt role playing combat was the best part of the game anyway, rather than the social interactions. And I played with the actually it was because of the one shot group, but I played the From the Astral game, which is about Githyanki and all that. And then I played with the Provokers on Matt Click's channel on A Fistful of Dice. He's one of the absolute tabletop guys, and we did that for like 2 years. And just those experiences, as well as others, really helped mold me into the person I am today when it comes to RPGs. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't have had that experience if 8 years ago someone was like, "Oh, you made your character too strong and you're not role playing enough," and booted me out of the group, I'd have been like, "Screw this hobby," you know. But
Yes.
luckily, people treated me fairly.
Yeah.
so so you
Good.
just got to be careful because there is, like you said, there is a higher standard I think today for a lot of people in the hobby. You know, I've seen people that complain that their DM doesn't do it the same way as Matt Mercer, which is unfortunate. Nobody's Matt Mercer except Matt Mercer. You know.
True. I get a lot of
Um,
emails to that effect. Yeah.
yeah, and it's an unfair standard on Matt Mercer too. Like he should not be responsible for how everybody runs games in the world. Like,
Oh,
you know, and I know
no.
it bothers him that people hold other players to his standard as well.
Yeah.
So,
Have you seen him play without like off a channel? Like his, I haven't watched much of his stuff, but I know it's edited to be a form of entertainment,
mhm.
which is different than the game experience. In the same way, like a movie doesn't show the characters' boring moments of
Sure.
traveling and the daily stuff.
Is it
Uh,
edited? I don't know. I haven't watched enough to notice that.
oh well, sorry. I seen here. Maybe it's not edited.
Yeah, my
Um,
understanding is they took their home game and just started streaming it, which I
oh,
did watch the first episode, and it was awful sound quality, no production. Like it was hard to watch the first one. I've actually watched it like multiple times because I had no idea what was going on. I've been meaning to just jump to season 2 because everyone says just skip the first season, jump to season 2. I have not. I just I don't watch a lot of live streams. I do. I love Acquisitions Incorporated. I love Chris Perkins as a DM. I love the players he's brought on for the various games. So I watch the games they run in front of people. I don't watch the ones on their Penny Arcade, but I do watch the big ones they've run at conventions. I've always enjoyed his games. So for me, Chris Perkins would be the one that I wish every DM was like. No, I'm just kidding. But
well, yeah, I'll check
I've
him out.
never witnessed a Matt Mercer game in person or anything. I've caught clips of his Critical Role, and that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, good. I didn't know that. I take it back then. So maybe his game is his regular game then. And
I know it's produced
yeah,
now. I don't know how much of it is. I know they jump, and change their cameras. I think now, but yeah, I
okay.
don't know if they edit things out necessarily. And I don't
Okay.
know what they do off air. Maybe they do downtime, leveling up off air. I don't know, but um, and I do think there's probably an element of them catering to the streaming crowd. But the stuff I have seen of it, it seems like a mostly beer and pretzels D&D with voices. Like you can tell they're friends. There's been clips I've seen where Matt Mercer was clearly annoyed and like, "Come on guys, let's move on." Like because there is a YouTube channel that just puts highlights of Critical Role stuff on that I was
Okay.
watching for a little bit. So yeah, so there's some stuff, but yeah, and some of the fans are so diehard, so diehard about Critical Role. It's good though. I think what Critical Role has done has been enormously positive for the hobby.
Agreed.
We're the era we're in right now is very much a streaming, like that is what kids today watch. They don't
Yeah.
watch cable TV. I had this talk with my friend earlier. I said, so think about it, because he's older than me. I said, you probably watch cable TV. I said, if I felt like I wanted to, I would have cable TV if I watched more TV. But today's generation, like the younger kids, don't care about that. They're not going to sit through commercials. They're going to go
No.
with the Hulu, the Netflix,
Yeah.
YouTube, Twitch.
Yeah. Cable TV is strange. I mean, you can't search it. You can't watch shows when you want on your schedule to the number at a time.
Yeah.
It's weird dial-up telephone kind of experience. I don't like it anymore. It's weird.
Yep. My kids are like that when they go to their grandparents and they want to watch a show. Grandparents are like, well, we don't have that. We have cable. And so they'll put the one or two cartoon options on. And then like a commercial comes up and my kids are like, can you put it back on? Like they can't wrap their head around
What did
it.
you do?
Yeah. Like we have Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus in our house. And then we have a smart TV, so you can watch YouTube on our TV, YouTube Kids on our TV, Amazon, stuff like that. And so we let them watch YouTube Kids, Netflix, and Disney Plus, and that's so they don't understand the commercial concept or that stuff's not on TV. So same thing with music. We'll be in the car because we don't have like a iPod in our car or anything. And they'll be like, "Can we listen to this song?" And it's like it doesn't work that way when we're in the car. When we're at home, we can do that, but not in the car. Like
Yeah.
the
I have a
radio
CD
is.
player in the car. That's it.
Yeah. I have a CD player too. Kids don't grasp that now.
Well, optical media? What the heck is that?
Right. So, but see, I don't think the Matt Mercer and Chris Perkins thing is anything new, right? I mean, I feel like when people have played with like, for example, Gary Gygax at conventions, 20 years ago or whoever, that was probably the standard back then, I would assume. We're like, oh, this is how Gary would have done it, or this is how this person would have done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just now you can see these other people and there's so much more access to it.
True. Yeah, definitely a democracy of role-playing examples.
Yes.
Did you ever read Knights of the Dinner Table comic?
I have not. I've heard of it.
I think it's funny. I think it's politically incorrect, but it's pretty funny. And and some of it has one kind of like a theme through it is the popular GMs of the community, like the GMs that are famous because they're great, and so all the players want to play with those GMs. And I think there is a little bit of that in some areas that you would have in your background. So it wouldn't be who was the has the most views on YouTube or whatever. It would be the GM that people talked about because the session stories that came out were the most outrageous or funny or interesting. Just a different medium.
Yeah, like I could see that. It's like how for a while there, everyone was like, Vin Diesel plays D&D. I want to play D&D with Vin Diesel. It's like, you don't know if he's any good. You don't know if his style matches yours. Like, he liked Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, but you don't know.
Yeah. And most importantly, could you just be yourself? If you're gaming with a celebrity, you want to be gaming, in your just be yourself and game the way that you like. Instead, you have this other kind of energy that's constantly in the back of your mind or whatnot. Yeah.
I do have celebrities I would love to play with. Like I think it would be so much fun to play a game with The Rock, Kevin Hart, Joe Manganiello. Like I feel like getting a group of like guys like that that maybe complement each other well. I don't know. But I could see Kevin Hart being a bard and like The Rock being a barbarian and Joe playing his Dragonborn, Eldritch Knight type of character or whatever. Like I think it would be so much fun. So I would love to go to Joe's Gygax dungeon for sure one day.
Yeah, once that kind of real world layer is peeled away and then they can reveal themselves as great players and game masters and people, then for sure they would be fun to play.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I would want Chris Perkins as the DM. That for me, that would be the perfect game, personally. So
awesome.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have any people that you think would be really awesome to play with?
Geez, I don't know. There's nothing comes to mind.
Just your normal group.
just people who love to play. People who get along together. But lately, I've been really chasing down games. So if I hear someone knows how to game, I'll play a certain game or GM a certain game. I want to try these things on my bucket list. So Mark Sim, who is one of my patrons, has run me through Savage Worlds last Parsec. So I got Savage Worlds play. And
do you like Savage Worlds?
I do.
Okay.
I do. It's simple D&D, but I find it's not like some older versions of D&D with gaps in certain areas. This seems to kind of surround all the typical gaming problem or decisions and action adjudication with pretty good mechanics. It doesn't minimize the dice rolls. With the exploding dice, you have these really cool spikes that you don't get in a less swingy game. And so anyways, I've only played a handful of times.
Sure. And
I have not done a campaign. So there's a few modes that I haven't tested it against. But it's been really fun.
I've played a few Savage Worlds games, but one was Shinetar. I've played Savage Rifts. I've done it quite a few times. I'll admit it's not my favorite system. So the thing that kind of bothered me about it was that people would say, "Oh, it's this fast-paced like narrative game," and every time I've played it, it's very numbers focused, like because of exploding dice, because of the wild die. And then you use like a card for initiative, and then you have like these bonus cards that maybe grant you abilities because we use those too, and then bennies. So for me, gosh, I played it with various people running it too. So I gave it a really good shot. I bought into Savage Rifts at the full level because coming from Palladium, I was like, I think I'll want this because this might be better than Rifts itself. And I still like how it was designed and stuff, but I don't know what it is. I just can't get past all the numbers myself to get into the narrative of Savage Worlds. It's almost like the different gimmicks or mechanics kind of pull me out of it. You know, but I don't know, maybe I haven't played it with like the right group, maybe, you know, and I have played with a few different people though. But I always ask people that because I know that most people don't agree with me. And so that's why I was kind of curious. In fact, the only person that agrees with me is my wife, who's played it with the same groups as me. So like we played it at a convention with a game designer once. We played it with one of my buddies who's a huge Savage Worlds fan, a few times in 2 different campaigns. It just doesn't stick for me. So I don't know.
Yeah, all these games, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Savage Worlds, and whatnot, they all have their numbers.
Yes.
But they introduce the numbers at different times in the game. And so maybe that's what you don't like. You might be...
I think it's just keeping track of the different ones. Because I might have both exploding. I might have the wild die exploding, but I might have the other stuff exploding. So now I got to keep track of 2 sets of numbers. Which one is the higher? Okay, that's the one I go with. Like, I don't know. I'm overcomplicating it because it's not like it happens every turn. But it's just to me, it was always this stuff going on. And the combats we had, because of the wound system, sometimes drug on for a while because now they're also -1 to hit you. And so it just sometimes, if you didn't end it quick, it just drug on sometimes. Maybe that was the sign of a good encounter design. I don't know. But I'm someone who, again, I get distracted and want to jump to different things. And so when that's going on, it's just dragging too long. I want to jump to something else. I like fast combat.
Yeah, I agree. You don't want to grind in any system, so I hear you.
Yeah, and that was my experience almost every time we played. It was combats that drug on a little bit. DMs crafted great games. In fact, when we played our convention game, we actually played with Sean Patrick Fannin, and it was Savage Rifts, and there was a mechanic. I don't know if it was part of it or not. I don't think it was, but he added this like narrative thing that happened before combat, and we could do like this uber ability thing. I don't remember exactly, but I feel like someone blew up the forest before the combat, so it got rid of a bunch of the bad guys already, and you walk into this spot where it's like flames everywhere, and it was really cool. And then I was playing a juicer, I think, and was able to do the going out with a blaze of glory. So I'm gonna die, but I was able to do some epic thing and take out a bunch of guys and stuff as I was doing it. And so that was cool. So there was some cool narrative stuff there that's not in other systems, right? So I did have fun. I don't want that to be misconstrued, but it's just not my favorite system. That's all. I know it sounds like I trash it. I'm not trashing it. It's a good game. Everybody loves it except for me. I just moderately like it.
No, that's fine. Everybody has their preferences. That's what makes meeting people interesting, right? You find different preferences and experiences, and
I've played Call of Cthulhu, the same kind of thing, where the first time I played Call of Cthulhu, the Dungeon Master was fantastic. It was D20 Call of Cthulhu. The other players were great. They were role-playing everything. I don't think that genre appeals to me. However, in 2 weeks, we are playing Call of Cthulhu on this channel. So it'll be a week from when this airs on the June 13th. And we're playing the 7th edition by Chaosium. And I'm excited to give it another shot. My wife's interested in it, so that's why we're playing. And I have a friend, Bill from Roll Stats, who's running it. And my friend Dead Aussie Gamer is also playing in it from YouTube as well. And so hopefully I like it. Hopefully. And if my wife likes it, we'll probably buy it and go all in on it. And it'll be a regular thing. But again, I did not have like this memorable experience that was like, I gotta have this game when I played it before. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what determines if I'm going to buy a game and play it again. If I don't have these experiences that really excite me, then I don't go for it.
Yeah, I had that experience with Blades in the Dark.
Oh,
For
that's a
some
popular one too now, isn't it?
yeah,
I
that
see
game
that.
clicked with me for a variety of reasons, and so I bought the book with paying $1 million shipping from United States to Canada, and yeah, it's worth it. I've gotten quite a number of games as a player.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So I hear you. If something's just the right thing for you at that time, then you want more of that.
Right, and I think timing's big too. Because I think there's like, I bet you if I would have played Savage Worlds before 2014, I probably would have liked it a lot more too. When I was more numbers focused and stuff, I think that the
Yeah.
builds and the type of things you can do would have appealed to me more, for sure. So what are some games you're looking to try? I'm just curious now.
So I've got my bucket list. I've got my shelf. I've got Scum and Villainy, which is like Blades in the Dark. I've got it's Pulp Cthulhu.
Oh, okay.
I've got Knights Black Agents, which I've played twice but not GM'd.
Okay.
Warhammer 4th edition.
Oh, you haven't played that?
I've played Warhammer 4E but not GM'd it.
Gotcha.
And so it's a heavy game, but the universe is fantastic, and I quite enjoyed. So going into a game like that, knowing it and expecting it means I'm prepared for it, and so I was, and I had a really great time. And the combats were crazy. Yeah, the lore is fantastic. And Mithras.
I've heard of that recently too. Maybe they were talking about it at Con+3, I think, online a couple weeks ago.
RuneQuest 6 reskinned, I think. Again, with a nod towards, or more than a nod towards, realism in certain aspects of the mechanics, and again, the lore is appealing. Yeah. And then Gumshoe games. So, well, I mentioned Knights Black Agents, and I've got what's the Gumshoe Cthulhu version, and then Ashen Stars, which is Gumshoe in space. So I've got I bought, so some of them are adventures, and I don't know what system I would use them for. But one adventure I'm reading right now is Mirkwood from the One Ring RPG.
Yep.
I don't have the rules.
Cubicle 7 does some good products.
Yes.
I like their products.
And I grabbed Mirkwood because I read some lists online about the best modules, and so I've been studying modules like no one's business, trying to glean what makes the best modules the best. And so this one was highly recommended. And then just around that time, who was it? They lost their Lord of the Rings license. Was that Cubicle 7?
Yeah, they were doing it for 5e, and they were planning like a big mega dungeon for the Mines of Moria, I think. And they lost the license before that was released. I'm in the Discord, and the fans in there lost their minds.
No.
And unfortunately, like, I tried to encourage people, like, why don't we as a community just do it? And nobody jumped on it, which by we as a community, I meant someone other than me. So I could have it, but I couldn't rally anybody to work on that. I actually like what they did with that. Because I remember when 5e came out and people heard about that, they were like, oh, it's going to be too high magic. It's not going to work. And I think they did a great job of making a game using 5e's system to make it feel like Lord of the Rings. I really like what they did there. At least of the couple books I have. I don't have all of them. I wish I did, but
yeah.
And now I think they're going up in price because nobody can get them anywhere.
It's $350 when I look. That's Canadian maple syrup dollars for the core rule book. I missed it probably by 2 months. Just kind of getting in on the tail end of last inventory in stores.
Yeah.
But do you know, is that license going to another company?
I don't know. The same thing kind of happened with Fantasy Flight Games and Star Wars, I think.
Oh.
I don't think they have the license now for Star Wars games.
Oh, okay.
Or they just closed their RPG division. Either way, you're not getting any new Fantasy Flight Star Wars. Someone told me, who was a big Fantasy Flight Star Wars fan, that another company is picking it up. And if someone's watching this and later on can post it in the comments section when this video goes live, that would be cool. I can't remember who that company was, but there's somebody who might be taking it over, and they're going to stick with the system, the Genesis system for that.
Great.
So I hope that's true, because I literally just tried that system a couple months ago for the
Genesis?
first time and loved it. We played Star Wars, Fantasy Flight Star Wars. And my wife loved it, which was surprising as hell because she doesn't like anything non-fantasy, which is why I'm excited to try Call of Cthulhu with her and stuff. And so we'll see what happens. But for me right now, I'm trying to learn Pathfinder 2nd edition.
How's that?
I think it's a cool system so far. It's not unlike 1st edition Pathfinder. I don't know if you're familiar at all with it, but
played it for years. Still love
the
it.
first one.
Yeah.
Have you tried the second?
I've heard. So I played Starfinder, and I heard that Starfinder is kind of a precursor to the Fantasy 2nd edition.
Yeah. So I have not played Starfinder, but they did take like the racial hit points and class hit points now, just like that. Other than that, I don't know what else they ported over, but it's not an exact adaptation. In fact, it's still completely different from that. But it's really cool. Like, I love what I've read so far, but there's still some stuff I'm very confused about. Like, I think the system is cool. I just think it's not worded well in the book. So like there's terminology where they have multiple words that kind of mean the same thing that aren't just saying what it is necessarily. Like they use different words, so there's that. I've already found a couple typos that I'm sure they've fixed with errata that threw me off, that are big deals. And then creating a character on Saturday, I probably could have finished it in about an hour if it was a little bit more clear. However, it took me about an hour and 20 minutes because I couldn't figure out certain things. And then I still missed some things that are pretty obvious after the fact. And but now that I understand, I think I can make a character in like 35 minutes. So it's not bad.
Cool.
It's a player's dream. I feel like it's a really good system for a player. As a dungeon master, it's a little bit harder, I think. But it won't be too bad once you've run like a handful of sessions, It does feel a lot like 1st edition Pathfinder with some simplification.
Okay.
I've had people tell me they think it's a lot like 5e, and it's not. It's 100% not. Okay. Like people are like, they tried to copy 5e and do things like that, and no, they didn't. So, and most of the people I've talked to who have any experience with it agree with me. It's nothing like 5e. So
yeah, my favorite part of Pathfinder is their adventure paths. I used to be a subscriber, and I used to get basically Dungeon Magazine quit, right? They turned into digital advertising magazine basically, but the Pathfinder adventure, come in the mail. I get something to read. I couldn't run them. I can't run adventure paths. Things I just can't remember the script, and things go sideways, and I'm always steps behind. But it was like my magazine fix. So I have a shelf full of these awesome adventures to read, steal parts from, and whatnot. So I always tie that together with my Pathfinder memories.
There's a lot of like the little splat books they did like every month, like whether it was equipment or races or something. I loved that stuff that they did back for original Pathfinder. I wasn't even playing Pathfinder. I had moved to 5e and I was still buying some of those little books, like adventure modules and stuff. Because again, they did I still think that's what they really should just focus on, because that's the best stuff they do. But the system's good too. Like I said, I think once I grasp 2nd edition Pathfinder, there is a very good chance it'll become my go-to system. And I never thought that was possible because I didn't like 1st edition that much. Once 5e came out, I was like, all right, see ya. And I didn't play 3.5. I didn't play 3rd edition. Never to this day. I still haven't played D&D 4th edition. But yeah, I don't know. I've been running 5e so much since it came out and playing it so much that I think I'm just ready for something a little bit more in depth. You know what I mean? Great game. It's my favorite system. But
Yeah, I'm running the campaigns, the 5e. We started in 2015. We were playing Pathfinder. We wanted to reach a certain point. We reached that point and then tried 5e as a one shot. And we said, hey, this is really good. We played Fandelver out of the box set. And now,
Nice.
5 years later, I have all these other games that I want to try, and it's on my bucket list. So I definitely have an itch to do things in addition to 5e. So, but I'm going to see my 3 campaigns through to their epic finales one way or the other, and then we'll see how it goes. But yeah, running something for so long, it doesn't matter what game it would be. I would want to change after a while. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm running 3 5e campaigns right now that are all
yeah,
fairly new. We're in Descent into Avernus. We're still in chapter 1, I think.
okay.
And so that's going to be going for at least another year and a half. I play that with Nate from WASD 20, Luke from the DM Lair, Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and then my wife. Because we all live in Michigan, too. That's the other thing. It started in
Oh,
person, but now we play it online
yeah,
because of the world and circumstances.
yes,
Um, but that campaign is a lot of fun. It, like I said, that's going to take probably 2 years before we finish it. Hopefully we finish it, unless something crazy happens and we can find a way to do some marathon sessions. But all of those guys are extremely busy with their own content they put out,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's probably not going to happen. My Wednesday group, we've been playing since October weekly, but we're pretty far. I think the players are all level 7 or 8 now, and technically we're really close to where I could actually come to a conclusion on the campaign. But at the same time, I've based on my time, I outlined my campaigns so that I know what's going on in the background. If they do things, cool. If not, something bad happens for each line item. We still have a lot on my outline that could still happen. So I could skip things if I do ultimately want to get to Pathfinder, but because right now I'm not going to pick up a 4th game to run. I just can't do it.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I can't do it. Or I could also try and port, like, hey guys, do you want to try and convert your characters over? That's
Yeah,
something I've thought about, but I wouldn't do it with that campaign. I might do it with the other one, but I've got a couple players who are more casual, and I don't think Pathfinder fits what they would like in that regard. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, and not owning the books would also make it really hard for them, and stuff like that.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. That'd be a change. It's a commitment to port things over. So
Yes, yes. So, man, I've been
cool.
dominating the conversation tonight. I'm sorry.
No problem.
You
And I
got me
should
going.
scoot. I can smell dinner. So
Awesome. Well, I've taken up a lot of your time. I really appreciate it. Gosh, this is the longest one I've done. I've never gone over my hour mark, but you got me talking at like 30 minutes in, so I didn't shut up. We'll have
yeah,
to do
it's
this
been.
again sometime for sure.
I enjoy talking gaming. Yeah, it's been fun.
So with that, do you want to promote like anything? Maybe your Twitter handle, Patreon, role playing tips, anything like that?
Yeah, just come to the website roleplayingtips.com, and I give away a bunch of free books there, and then all my GM advice and blog posts and whatnot are there. You can just uh, surf around, see what you like, different topics about world building and NPCs and monsters and adventure building and stuff. So yeah, just come visit the site and grab what you want from there, and maybe you come back.
And if you guys are interested in following him on Twitter, it's John Ford, John with 2 N's, right?
Oh yeah, so I switched. You go to at roleplaying tips
At
on
Role Playing
Twitter.
Tips. Perfect.
I'm not really active on social media these
Sure.
days, just focusing. But yeah, at John 4, I migrated over to be a personal account, and now it's dead. So roleplaying tips is where you could hit me up on Twitter.
Awesome. Awesome. So, and yeah, I will post a link to his Patreon. I'll post, obviously you should check out Role Playing Tips before you go to his Patreon. But if you want to throw him some money, I mean, go for it. But yeah, Patreon, I'll link to his Role Playing Tips as well that I find very helpful. Like I said, I get the tips, and occasionally, I don't read all of them, obviously, because there's so many, but I'll open it up, and there have been times where I've been like, I'm using this weekend. So again, I think you'll feel the same way, guys. So make sure you go over there, subscribe to his newsletter, and just go through some of his old articles too. Everything he sends as an email, I think, becomes an article, and it's really well done. He's got some great products that, like 5-room dungeon, the encounters, 3-line NPCs, all sorts of good stuff. So you won't want to miss it if you like RPG stuff. So yeah, with that, this was Master the Game. I'm Juice. This was my guest, John 4 from Roleplaying Tips. We will see you guys next time. Game on.
See ya.